12 o'clock. We're going to get the study session started.
Not happening.
Public hearing on Monday.
Okay, cool.
There's a public hearing Monday on street sweeping by the DPW. For the DPW, public hearing on Monday at June 4th at 1 o'clock. Councilor Driscoll.
Yes, I think that item is ready.
Okay. President Hudson.
I'll know by Monday.
And I have items, thank you, I have items 11 through 18, all fire department items. Chief, in case there's questions.
I have a question. I'll let him go through the list.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
Item 11 is for us to get restricted funds that come from the New York State Department of Health for us training our firefighters to get certified in our medical field. Does anybody have any questions for that?
I think the 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are all pretty, maybe 15 might have a question. One should address 15 and then 16.
Okay, 15 is our members are able to get a uniform allowance per our collective bargaining agreement, and Lewis and United Uniform are the only local authorized distributors of our uniforms, so that's why we use them for the waiver.
That's standard.
Okay, and 16.
Yes, Chief, I'm going to predate you and go back on 16. In 2012, we had an issue with getting someone to take over our laundry for the fire department.
Yes.
We still have that issue, and this is the company that we've actually been using.
Yes.
And I know that in the past, when the stuff would come back, it would come back not so clean.
Yes.
Are they still doing that?
To my knowledge, right now, I don't think it is as bad as it was in the past.
As bad as it was.
Yes, but I'm not saying it is bad right now either. I'll get back to you with that information, and I'll give you an update on what the status of how the laundry comes in. I'll let you know. But I was in the fire stations, and when it was coming, there was some issues with it, and I know our staff addressed some of those issues, and I believe, to my knowledge, it has gotten better. But I will definitely get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and items 17 and 18, I think are pretty straightforward. If any councilors have any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Chief.
day.
Yep. Councilor Rudd?
Wait.
Oh, hold it.
Wait, is
Chief?
anybody here from the police department? Not you, Chief. I need police.
Nope, not right now.
Because who is Value Tech? Okay.
Yep.
Curious.
Councilor Rudd?
I have items 19 and 20. Mr. Clifford, do you want to describe 19?
Good afternoon, councilors.
Nice suit you got on there.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see that other people share my taste in clothing.
It's a barbershop quartet. Barbershop quartet coming later on. I missed the memo.
So these are these items are corrections to the tax roll. 205 North Geddes Street is a correction due to the fact that the property apparently has no water. 523 Fabius Street is a church that I believe failed to make application showing what the property is being used for, so it had been denied, and we are now giving them back that exemption.
Mr. Clifford, can I ask you something? Because I had another church come to me. So at some point, these churches know that they have to reapply, right?
Every year we send them a renewal application, yes.
And so, not trying to be ugly about it, but we're making exemptions, and we're choosing once they don't do it, we're letting them come back and do it again?
Well, in this particular case, it was shown that the property had been used as a church, and that they did file for the second year. They were denied again because we couldn't determine from the outside that the property was being used. So we were going to give them this year, and they had sued us over both years. So, or I guess threatened to sue us, let's put it that way. They had an attorney involved. So we reviewed the property and reviewed its continued use by the same people, and were able to determine that they would have been
So you
eligible.
have a standard form that they fill out? That you can-
Every year.
Is there any way
It's a
that
New
you-
York State form, yes.
Okay, could I see that form electronically? Do you have
Sure.
it electronically? Because I
We
know
could
that the church
scan it in,
that
yeah.
came to me, he didn't pay his fees, which I know the fees, they have to pay those, so I want to know if
Right.
that's all spelled out in that form.
Nothing about the fees are in the form. The special charges are separate from the tax exemption. The tax exemption only exempts the property from what they would pay based on the assessment.
But they feel that it exempts them from everything. That's the problem I have with
Yeah,
this
yeah, that's a
other church.
misunderstanding some people have. It doesn't exempt them from charges for specific services. Things like county sewer use, street sweeping, special lighting, things like that are specific to the property based on services that are provided to that property. So those charges can't be exempted, except for the land bank. I guess they got special state legislation to exempt them.
Okay.
While we talk about exemptions, there was an article in the paper about the 485s.
485A exemption,
485A.
yes, yes.
Exemptions, and I don't know how long those breaks have been in place, but is it, and we see regularly on these agendas that items come through and people will disagree with their assessment and they'll sue us?
Yes.
So the one thing when I read the article is like, oh, well, at least someday there'll be value. How, is that the kind of situation where if a building has a break for a long time and then it goes fully on the rolls, then they can sue us for disagreeing with the
They
assessed
typically
value?
come in once they start actually paying real taxes, yes, and try to dispute the assessment at that point in time.
So it's typical for entities, they get the break, and then after the break is up, they're like, that's not actually our value.
Well, first of all, values change over time. That has to be taken into account. But that being said, everybody has the opportunity to come in and grieve their assessment. Typically, though, properties, say Empire Zone properties or 485A properties, or properties that have been in a pilot, once they come out of the pilot, now they're facing reality. This is what they should have been paying all along, like every other taxpayer. So that causes them to reevaluate their position. In many cases, they come in and get and file an Article 7 proceeding against the assessment. So that's I've seen it enough. It's happened enough to realize that it's not so much the assessment that concerns them; it's the amount of taxes. The bottom line, anyway.
Any other questions for?
There's a couple other items here.
Oh, yeah.
Both 523 West Onondaga and 515 to 17 West Onondaga. It's a property that was purchased by the Strathmore Community Development Group. They're planning on fixing the properties up. There's, I think, 3 buildings there. All of them need a lot of work. We reassessed the properties and feel that it should have been on the final roll that came out this April 1st.
We've been dealing with those properties for a while, right, with the Strathmore Group?
These properties, no, but I believe they're the same people who rehabilitated the Huntley apartment building up, yeah, on Stolp Avenue. So they're trying to find other properties that are historic, architecturally significant, to keep them from falling into such disrepair that they have to be demolished. I mean, we have some real treasures here in the city, and we'd like to.
So where are we on the one next to the, what's the name of Alita's house?
The Jadita?
No, where, you know what? Where you had your, yeah, the Heritage House. What's happening with that building? The one that the
You have an
Salvation
address?
Army was gonna go in? Are they still going
Is there
in
an
there?
address?
I don't have.
I don't know what.
It's on
I
West
can
Sunnyside.
find out for you. If you let me know what the address is, I can look into it for you.
They're working on it?
Under construction, yeah.
Okay, because they've been talking about that for 4 years too.
There's a lot of properties, or a lot of projects that take a number of years to complete. It's usually just based on how much money is available. And the last property at 405 East Fayette Street is something that New York State tells us what the assessment should be each year. The problem is that we have to make our roll by the 1st of April, and this didn't come to us until mid-May. So we have to correct the roll to reflect the number that they, this is for outside poles and wires and conduits and stuff that, for New York Telephone Company, which is really, I think, Verizon now.
Okay.
One other question about the 485A stuff with which is a break for mixed-use development, which I guess vending machines. So vending machines are like too extreme an example, and that's the kind of thing that we would.
We're going to be looking, we're going to be asking to inspect that property as well as a number of others where we don't see commercial activity. It's our position that if you're going to do a conversion from commercial to mixed use, there should be mixed use, not just one use. So we're going to give them an opportunity to correct that by the end of the year. And if we find at the end of the year that they haven't got any commercial use in there, we're going to take the exemption off, and they'll be fully taxable.
If there were language that you thought would be, I know it's a state law, but language that would help clarify it to make it more
absolutely.
appropriate,
There's
I think we would be interested in just being a partner to help make clear what would
well,
make it better.
Yeah, they have to more clearly define how much percentage. For example, this law started in New York City. In New York City, it defines exactly what percent of the property needs to be commercial, at least, in order for it to qualify. And residential, it should be more clearly defined. There's no definition in the law right now as it stands. I know that the intent of the law was to preserve buildings, you know, put buildings that are only partially occupied, maybe just on the first floor, put them back into productive use for the upper floors and stuff. That was kind of the idea behind it. But when they wrote this particular law, they left the door wide open. And unfortunately, we're seeing some of the stuff you saw in the paper.
Just real quick, you said the proceeding that they start post the exemption is Article 7? Did I hear you right?
When somebody disagrees with their assessed value or their exemption status, they can file an Article 7 proceeding. It's
Gotcha.
It's called a certiorari. It's a writ to a higher court, and the Article 7 is a specific part of the law that allows people to grieve their assessed values.
Thank you.
Okay, Council.
Mr. Delvecchio, do you want to describe item 20? I think it's just.
Item 20, yes. Councilors, purpose of this legislation is to authorize the Department of Finance to collect the levy, property tax levy for both the city and the school district. A few weeks ago when the budget was prepared, these numbers were authorized by you, but this specific legislation is to authorize us to collect the money. Okay.
Go get it. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Kearney.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I have items 21 through 31.
Good afternoon. Items 21 through 30 all are for individual agreements for our summer camps that we've already registered for that are beginning as soon as school comes out. Do you have any questions about those? And 31 is for us to purchase a Blade Master, which allows us to sharpen the skates at Meacham and Sunnycrest. We are looking at one around $3,000, but the total revenue created from that is about $15,000 annually.
Okay. I don't know
Any
if anyone has
questions?
any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I have a question. So, item number 30, June 25th to June 29th.
Yes.
So that's already been spent?
Anne? The Bricks for Kids happens at the end of this fiscal year? Yes. Is it just because we can't pay it out? It's in current fiscal year?
All the camps have always just gone together regarding the fiscal year.
Right, but isn't it prudent to ask for the money first?
Yes. Unfortunately, the
we
way
had one on our last agenda like that as well from the Parks Department, so I just wanted to point out that it's probably just going to be better practice to bring it to us ahead of time.
so moving forward, we absolutely can do that. That would, in this situation, that would be the only one that we can ask for in advance. I realize that we've registered all of the kids for all of the other ones on here.
No, but I mean, you ask for the money before the programs begin, which is
This hasn't started.
It's June. It hasn't happened yet.
these are the agreements.
Yeah.
Okay, this one just says for the period of June 25th to June 29th.
It has not taken place yet.
Next month.
Okay. Oh, right, it's May. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Having a moment.
Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
but for the point, though, that caught my attention, because the last time we had a conversation when we realized that there was something on the agenda that had already happened, and we just wanted to make that point clear to the Parks Department, just
Okay.
in general. Thanks.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you. I will take Councilor Ryan's items 32 through 47.
Good afternoon. 32, we're just doing the public hearing for the sweeping and flushing program that we start July 1st of 2018.
This will be eligible after the hearing for a vote on Monday, which you should vote
Okay.
33, I think it's from engineering.
Good afternoon, counselors. This is an acceptance from SU. They want to install new traffic signals and equipment at the intersection of Waverly Ave and University Ave. Right now, the traffic signals are span wires, so they kind of hang across the intersection on a wire cable, and they want to have replace it with three poles, one post-mounted pole, so the signal's on top of the pole, and 2 mast arms. And it's to create a better visual of SU at the intersection of Waverly and University. So they're doing all of the work at no cost to the city, and then we will accept and take over ownership and maintenance.
Thank you. Items 34, 35.
These items basically were just amending the list we put in for the road recon program. After we had gone to council, we found out that one of our streets is going to be funded by a grant. So we took that street off and added 4 new streets.
Did you send the streets over?
I did. I have a list here too if you'd like it.
They should be in the back, right? You know which ones you added?
Yes. We added Grant Boulevard, Park Street, another section of Park Street, James Street, and Almond.
And which one?
Almond.
Okay. Item 36.
36 and 37, we're doing the same thing. We had to change the list of the streets. That's the only thing we're doing on that.
Okay. Item 38 for the disposal.
38 to 42 are all waivers of competitive bids for us to deal with these specific companies for specialized parts and or work for emergency use, repairs, supplies.
Okay, well, I just have one more question, and I'm gonna ask you, I'm not sure how much of it you know, because I know that on the creek side, there supposedly was a camera up there, And I'm curious to know, because I know on that creek, they'll dump TVs, they dump
Yeah.
everything, and then we're spending $50,000 to go pick up TVs to remove from people dumping. And I'm just curious to know if there's a way we could track the high volume areas, even with tires, because on Montgomery, they'll go dump a ton of tires.
For that specific site that you're talking about, that is a well-known dumping site, we actually installed a camera there, and we installed what is those, a metal box, one of those deer hunting boxes for to protect the camera, so the camera wouldn't be stolen. Last time we put the camera up in the tree, and long as we hold, someone took it. But we are monitoring that right now as we
So
speak.
can you read the license plates?
We can read everything. I mean, whoever's dumping there, all we got to do is take the CD or the disc that we have in there and upload it and give it to Officer Romaine, and he'll take care of the perps.
So I don't know how expensive these cameras are, because you know the sites that's being dumped in, right?
Yes.
So is there a way that we could actually camera the sites that's being dumped at?
And that's what we're doing now. We're currently placing cameras, and we were waiting for the boxes. We didn't want to put up all these cameras and get them stolen again, so we waited for the boxes to come in. They're in now.
Okay.
Now we're putting them around so we can monitor those areas.
Oh, and Law, how much can we tack them?
Do we have any relationships with like state officials? For instance, I met a person who is a city resident who works for the New York State Environmental Conservation Police Bureau of Environmental Crimes or whatever, and he actually said that if you have areas where there's repeat tire dumping, then like they are interested in that type of investigation, because I think a lot of the times there's like suspicion of people who live around that there might be like a car shop nearby that is the
No suspicion, there's two of them over there.
I'm sure, but I'm saying this is where if we're thoughtful and we can work with other groups, maybe there's actually ways that we could really.
Yeah, I'm open to working with.
I can share his info with you guys, but it seems like something we might want to be collaborating on.
Of course.
Since it happens a lot.
Definitely, I'm open to it. Anything to help us, so we don't have to deal with picking up tires. And televisions. That's just cost to the city that we don't really need.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 43.
Before we go further, I've been a little lax, but when you come up to the mic, if you're not introduced, can you just introduce yourself and your title for some of us here and for everybody not here?
Commissioner.
For Tim's family.
Item 43 is accepting lining of 3 sewers. This is a 101 offset for the county sanitary sewer to offset the additional sanitary sewage from this Star Park Apartments project on 135 State Fair Boulevard. So they are lining 3 sewer manholes for us, and we're accepting them. No cost.
Okay, 44.
Item 44 is a project Atlantic States Legal Foundation is constructing. This is a revocable permission to accept certain drainage structures in the right-of-way as part of their project. They got Green Innovation Grant money, so they're going to be taking some of the storm sewer flow from sheet flow off the streets and taking it into these vacant properties. So for the things that are being installed in the city right-of-way, we're granting them permission to install them. They're responsible to maintain them. And if it creates any adverse impact, it's a revocable permission. They have to correct it, or it would be removed.
And what are these going to look like?
They're going to be 3 of the properties have just swales within the grass strip to collect the water off the unimproved streets, and then it's going to be a pipe underground to go into the garden that they're going to construct on the vacant property. And one of it's going to be it's an improved street, so there's going to be like a cutout in the curb to catch the stormwater runoff.
Have they done a project similar to this before? I'm just interested in their capacity specifically with the maintenance.
No, this is the first of 3 phases. So this is our first one. We are requiring the sewer maintenance agreement and easement access agreement so that they are responsible for legally, we have legal documentation that they're responsible, and they are required to submit a $2,000 bond.
And this bond will insure us for anything we may have to go back and fix.
Well,
I mean, I don't, you know, it's revocable, I understand that, and so that's a benefit to us, but if we have to go back and pay for something that
then
could
we
be
would take it.
potentially damaged by them or whoever they hired to do this job, you know, that's an obvious concern. And you know, I would think if we thought that they had the capacity, we wouldn't necessarily make it revocable. All of them are probably revocable.
They're all revocable,
Yeah.
actually. Anybody that installs anything in the right of way that they're taking over ownership and maintenance is always revocable.
Is there any, I mean, are we insured somehow? Is there any way to further insure the city in the event that we have to go back and repair anything?
We can't treat them any differently. It's the same procedure for anybody that.
Because I want to piggyback on what Councilor Bay just said, because DPW may be able to help, because I know when I talked to the commissioner of DPW before, when they did these type of jobs, we would take some money and hold it to the side until they repaired it or put it back the way we saw to specifications.
That's for street cut permits. We do hold the money for a certain period until.
So we couldn't do that for this?
I mean, the work in the right-of-way is not that invasive. It's really working within the grass strip. The concern that I see is the maintenance of it, that it's properly maintained so that the stormwater does flow properly into the property and that it's not creating any adverse impact. I don't think there's a big concern for me for the construction. It's the ongoing maintenance.
So shouldn't we be able to keep that money?
Well, the bond, we do keep in place. The $2,000 bond will be kept for 10 years, and then we reevaluate it.
Okay, that's, didn't say, okay, for 10 years, okay.
45?
45 is a revocable permission for Building Hope Parkside Foundation on Herkimer Street. This is the old St. Bridget's Church, which is becoming OnTech charter school, and they've asked to install, operate, and maintain a school bus drop-off area. So it's just a alteration in the curb to create parking for the school buses. Also revocable.
Okay, and 46 and 47 are water?
Thank you, Mary Robeson from Engineering.
Good afternoon.
Say your name and title.
Yes, Joe Aweld, Commissioner of Water. So 46 and 47 is request a bond and authorize for the Skinny Atlas Lake Dam Rehabilitation Project. This is going to involve restoring the bar screens in front of the dam and the wooden walkway. Any questions?
Any questions? No questions.
What are those screens?
Those screens prevent any debris from clogging the outlet of the dam, and we maintain that. Any other questions? Thank you.
Councilor Boyle.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I have item 48, 49, and 50, and I'm going to call them ready. I'm actually going to reach out to Susan. I don't think anybody, you're here from the school district? I just have a question about the clocks, and I bring this up every year because we spend $50,000 a year. So far since I've been on the council, we've spent $150,000 making sure our clocks all tell the same time in our school building, and it just, every year I say the same thing. It just seems so excessive to me. Where are we on this? Is there a point where we're not going to have to pay $50,000 a year to have clocks that tell the time?
Sure. I'm Kate Skane, comptroller with the school district, and I just want to point out that the ordinance is a not to exceed,
Right.
so it doesn't necessarily mean that we will spend the $50,000 every year.
Right.
And I just took a little look back at our spending history, and it looks like typically, we've spent on average about $40,000 a year. We do anticipate that those expenditures will phase out over time as we're renovating buildings through the Joint Schools Construction Board and installing newer technology in our buildings.
So can you just explain to me a little bit how we spend this money? How does this, Are we buying upgraded software every year for these clocks? Are we buying new PA systems for buildings?
Typically, it's to address systems that break or are malfunctioning. So typically, it's more of a repair and maintenance type expenditure.
Okay. I'll be happy when we don't have that on here anymore, because every year it comes on and I'm like,
not the clocks
seems
again.
so excessive. Seems like a lot for clocks, but I'm going to call these items ready. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Allen.
Thank you. I have items 51 through 66. 51 is going to be held, we'll have a committee meeting this Monday, June 4th at 11 a.m. Committee. Okay. And then 52, 53, and 54. Heather.
Good afternoon, councilors. Heather Lamandola, zoning administrator. 52 is a special permit. This is for a restaurant on Wolf Street. This was previously approved. They had to make changes to the floor plan and the site plan, which necessitated another waiver because now they have one less parking space, so that's why it had to go back through. But it's the fish fry place on the corner of Wolf and Salina.
What was the changes, Steve?
Oh, they had to change the floor plan and the site plan to accommodate some accessibility issues.
Okay. So how does it work? 'Cause I remember this one coming through before. I thought we approved it.
That's what she just said.
Yeah. We did approve it.
Yes, you did.
How did it change? I don't understand.
The floor plan and the site plan changed because they had to make accommodations for some ADA accessibility. So it reduced the number of parking spaces as a result, and there was already a waiver in place, so this made one less parking space. So that's why it had to come back through.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 53, this is also a restaurant. This is a modification. It's a restaurant within a convenience store on Burnett Ave.
That we were giving them?
Yeah, it's 4 altogether.
Yeah. What were the 4 that we were, I'm sorry, I'm just.
Well, a lot of these waivers have to do because with the type of classification of the street that it's on. Yeah, so it's a major arterial, it needs to have so much feet of frontage and so much setback, and it doesn't because it's existing. So that's why those were necessary. They also didn't have enough parking spaces. They have 4, they needed 32 based on the square footage inside because it turned into what we categorize it as a restaurant.
Okay.
Would the Wolf Street restaurant be coming back to us if there were no parking requirements?
Would it come back to you?
Came back through because of the parking, or it came back through because of the overall changes?
If there were no parking requirements, would it, let's see, what else did they change on here? So that was the only deviation and waiver this time around. Last time, I think it had a couple different ones, so.
So it wouldn't have come back a second time if there were no parking requirements?
And it might have been allowed by, who knows? So.
Thank
you. So, good?
Yep,
So item 54. This is also a restaurant. This is part of the Butternut Commons new complex at North Townsend and Butternut Street. So this is a restaurant within that space. I believe it's a
ice cream shop.
Yeah.
That bottom floor?
Yeah.
Is this the first business that will actually open up in that space?
No, I think there was a Drug Subs and maybe
Kenny's,
Subway.
the
Kenny
police.
Drugs is there.
Okay,
They have
so it's
some
not there.
residential.
It's the one that's like kitty corner to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fairly new development.
Yeah.
New construction in the past couple years.
So it's not the newest one that was just built on Butternut? Because it's one right across from the Family Dollar parking lot that's brand new. It's not that one.
No, not the Housing Visions
Okay.
building. No.
The one that just broke ground?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now items 55 through 66.
I don't think label every page.
Good afternoon, counselors. I'm Callie Kaku from the Department of Neighborhood and Business Development. We have items 55 through 66. And I just would like to quickly present that there's 1 commercial property on the list for today, 11 occupied rental properties, and we would respectfully request to withdraw item 56. The taxes have been paid, the property is redeemed.
So withdrawing item 56.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Did you send these electronically this time?
I did. Unfortunately, it was a little
Okay.
late, but it came
So-
through.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I still have to, I'm gonna hold item 55 still, and 61 as well.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
No, 58 and 66 are both ready for me.
Okay.
Good to go.
58 and 66?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
They're ready.
Okay, so we're all set. Thank you. We're all set, Counselor Thompson.
Okay, that concludes the study session for the day. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Oh my God.
All in favor?
Aye.